This is Counterpoint, and I'm your host, Tanya Granic Allen. There's a growing debate in Canada right now about how the federal government defines fairness in the workplace. New details are circulating online suggesting that internal training for managers in the federal public service is teaching leaders that rejecting the concept of equity as opposed to equality can itself be considered a form of racism. The training reportedly instructs managers to see race, confront their own privilege, and actively sponsor the advancement of specific racial groups in hiring and promotion decisions. It also prepares managers for what it calls resistance from people who question the framework, even labeling some disagreement as straight up racist. Now, supporters argue these programs are necessary to address rather systemic barriers and improve representation and leadership. But critics say this flips the traditional principle of equal treatment on its head, replacing merit and equality under the law with race based outcomes managed by the state. In other words, the question isn't just about diversity training, it's about how Canada's largest employer, the federal government, now defines fairness, opportunity, and merit in the workplace. Well, joining me now is Melanie Bennet, a journalist with Juno News. Melanie, thank you so much for coming on. So I was somewhat surprised when I read your reporting on this issue that the federal government has, say, such a robust training program for their managers in the federal workforce.
Yeah, thank you for having me. First off, yes, it is quite robust. I just want to start off by saying I'm still going through many of the documents because I requested all of the public services, the School of Public Services, essentially DEI training that they have. Some of it is mandatory and some of it is optional. And I received over 1,700 pages. I
Oh,
believe this one is about 36 pages of that 1,700 pages. 850 pages of that is purely Indigenous orientated, and the rest is sort of scattered between different topics. But it's pretty hefty. There's an awful lot of this kind of training going on within the public service.
so the reason this one piqued my interest is, again, this is Canada's largest employer, it is the federal government. And I've always appreciated a debate on equality versus equity. Could you first
Yeah.
explain the distinction between those two terms?
Equality is simply a question of offering people opportunities in an equal fashion. So this is not what equity is. And the interesting thing about this training is that it essentially says that to achieve equality, it must manage outcomes using equity principles. Equity being how to manage outcomes in a certain way. And so in this case, it's almost like managing resources within the organization in a way that sees race, as they say, and adjusts it by race. Right. So we're not giving equal treatment to people. What we're actually doing is we're giving unequal treatment to people purely on the basis of their race because of what they understand to be disparities. So, if we have 15% of Black people in Canada, then 15% of must be Black employees within the public service. So it's essentially that they're incompatible. They're mutually exclusive concepts. You cannot have equity and equality existing in the same structure. But that's what this training is suggesting is possible. And it also suggests the curiosity here is it's saying that if you believe in equality, but not equity, that in and of itself is racist. And if you look through the training modules, it also says that the whole goal of this type of training is to eliminate racism. So we're eliminating people's ability to think critically about concepts like equity and equality.
Which just seems strange to me. Maybe I'm now old, but I remember growing up where we were sort of taught not to see race, that everybody's equal, and that's the thing. But if I understand you correctly, middle managers or managers within the federal workforce are basically saying, no, you need to see race and you need to achieve this percentage of employees based on race because or else you're not
They
being
need to
equitable.
manage resources and give those resources in a preferential manner to people based on their race.
Wow. So we're right up against a commercial break. We have 20 seconds. So to me, that sounds racist. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, and when they say that people are resistors, what they mean is people are noticing that this is racist and they don't want to hear the arguments.
Okay, so we're going to pick this up in just a few moments and we're going to explore this further.